We're gonna have to we're gonna have to do this again. Sorry.
Well, at least this way it's better, isn't it now?
I know. Sorry, I did everything. I forgot to record it. Right. Okay. So, Tony, do it again, please.
Hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Football Referee first segment. I am Tony, and we are with Trevor and Emmy.
And I'm Emma
And I'm
Hickins.
Trevor here, and definitely doing it again. Now, I insist. I insist, cuz, after you.
And I'm Emma Hickins, and he calls me Cuz.
We must get a bit more professional on this. But anyway, I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv, and we both call Tony the
The
Enforcer.
enforcer. Yes. Okay, so we got a few appointments, or one appointment and two transfers to sign it. Ruben Amorim, this one would especially concern you, Tony. Ruben Amorim, new AC Milan head coach. Now, just before you answer that, Tony, because I know you're raring to go. Just before you answer that, why head coach and not new manager? Is it finally not? Is it still not getting the managerial title?
I would assume head coach more or less means manager, anyways.
Oh, okay.
That's what I've always assumed. Head coach to say head coach, manager, head coach. That's what I've always assumed, anyways. I would say usually they call head coach as an American term for managers. That's
Right.
what I've figured out. But yeah, Ruben Amorim going to AC Milan. I feel like he'll be backed up there. Man United, the board promised a lot to Ruben and never delivered it. Uh, Even though Ruben had a plan, he had everything in motion what he wanted, and when he said, "Are you going to back me up?" They said, "Yes, we will." And when the time actually came, they never did. It was all like what's the term now? Like they're always promising, "Yes, we'll do it for you. Well, don't worry about it. You know, we have you." And then when the time actually came, they're like, "Yeah, nah, sorry about that. We don't want this now. We want something else." So I feel like maybe AC Milan will actually back him up, you know, because they've always been a very good football team. They've had the greats there, Maldini, Ronaldinho, David Beckham. All the greats have more or less played for it. Oh, and can't forget his big Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So all these players, they've all been, you know, brilliant at AC Milan. And yeah, you know, I feel like they actually back up their coaches in a sense, you know. All these great players, including Modric as well now, who's over there. They wouldn't be there if they didn't care for like the players and the manager. So, you know, I feel like he might do well there. You know, he was good in Europe. He was always very good. He was like Sporting Lisbon. They were in a big drought. I think it was like 17 years that they didn't win the league or something like that. I know I can't remember the exact how many years it was, but it was a very long time. And then
Mm.
Ruben Amorim came in and 1 year won them. He won it. He won everything more or less at that time. So like Ruben has got it in him to do the things, but at the end of the day, English league is not the same like Portugal or Spain or anywhere else. So I feel like he would do good in Europe, and especially when we played in Europa Liga, we went unbeaten. We went unbeaten until the final. You know, so I feel like he'll do well over there. You know.
Mm. Okay. Um, the only reason why I brought up about the head coach and manager title was because previously on this show, brother and I, we've discussed about the reason. One of the reasons why he left was because, obviously he felt he was the manager,
Mm.
but apparently he was the coach, whether head coach or whatever. So I'd let Brov chip in there, please.
Yeah, as you say, we talked about this before, cuz, haven't we? And
Mm.
I don't really know. I don't think we know the real difference between a head coach and a manager, except to say that, in my belief, a manager has a general overview of all matters related to who comes in, what players come in, the coaching side of it, obviously, the negotiation, perhaps, of contracts. I mean, that's done through agents anyway. Well, whereas a head coach is purely focused on the football itself, the tactics, obviously some awareness and some say perhaps in who comes to the club. But I think the fact that a lot of clubs, more European in the past than us, specify someone as a head coach, excuse me, rather than a manager, there clearly is a difference as far as they're concerned. So, yeah, I don't think we've really discovered what, excuse me, what the difference really is. But yeah, it's interesting that in AC Milan are calling him a head coach. And to talk about Amorim, I think he's probably still a very good manager. I don't think that was disproved by his time at Manchester United. I mean, as far as I'm aware, as an outsider there, I think he tried to play in a way that didn't suit the club, that they weren't really used to. He didn't seem to want to change the way he was playing, even when the results were bad. So, in a way, his number was up at some stage because he wasn't doing what perhaps the fans wanted and maybe the club, the owners wanted as well. But I still think he will do well at AC Milan. I think he's a good appointment. And as Tony said, if the board back him, if they have faith in him enough to back him, I think he'll probably return to what he was doing well at Lisbon and things like that. So I don't think his stint at Old Trafford has damaged his pedigree, really. He wasn't a disaster there, although he didn't have a great season last season, let's face it. But no, I think it's a good appointment for AC Milan. And whether they call him head coach or manager, ultimately he gets the same pay, and he'll no doubt have his input on most aspects of the club, I would have thought.
Okay.
And just to add, he's great at bringing in brilliant players. Look what he did for us. He got rid of the I would say egotistical players, and he brought in some brilliant players like
Yeah,
Cunha, Mboma, Dorgu, Le Mans, Sheshko, and I would have personally would have loved him to keep him as a what's the term now? A scout in a sense, you know. I would love to have if he was down to be able to do that instead of just saying I want to be a manager. If he wanted to be a
yeah.
scout, I would love for him to be a scout. He's brilliant at
Director
finding
of
good
football
players.
sort of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you know, he wants to be a manager. It is what it is, you know. But and he'll do great there. Like I said before, he'll do great.
Wow, that's a very good point there that you brought out. Now Spurs have signed Van Heck. Now it says is reuniting with Robert De Zerbi. That must indicate that it was
Brighton.
a former club or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, they signed him for 60 million.
Mm.
I don't know anything about this guy. Do you, Tony?
No, I don't.
I was
No, I
gonna
don't.
say, from what I
No.
remember, I feel like he had an okay season at Brighton. Obviously, they finished eighth, so that's a good thing for them, you know, to finish
Right,
at least in top 10.
right.
I feel like he has done okay in a sense, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, he's going back to being under Robert De Zerbi now, so you know he knows his style. He knows Robert De Zerbi knows how Van Hecker plays, so
Mm,
I feel like he might do okay, you know.
mm, Oh, well, you know, but I mean, psychologically, to reunite with an old manager or old friend, it does something to the morale, don't it, of a player. Um,
Yeah.
I hope so. Now, the next one is Neymar.
Mm.
So Brazilian Neymar is out on the pitch. He couldn't train with the team. He also couldn't train with the ball, but he's out on the pitch. Now, I don't remember because I watched the Brazil game. I don't remember Neymar being, was he? No, he
No.
didn't. He played, did he? No. Now, now, what do we make of the Brazilian game they played in the World Cup
No,
so
no.
far?
Yeah.
Uh, who wants to go first?
You go
Yeah,
first, Tony.
you can go
Okay.
first.
In my opinion, I feel Neymar should have never been in the squad. My
Right.
personal feelings, he shouldn't have been there. He's been so injury prone, more or less his entire football career. But
Mm.
I feel like what happened during the friendlies when they were doing the squad announcements, who were they planning on to bring in, and they left Neymar out. I feel like that put so much pressure on Ancelotti to bring back Neymar.
Yeah,
In my opinion, I feel like Joao Pedro should have been in the squad for the World
Mm.
Cup. He was
Okay.
brilliant at Chelsea. He was absolutely he was scoring goals for them.
Mm.
Uh, for him to lose that place to Neymar because it's Neymar at the end of the day, I feel
Mm.
like that's such a loss for Brazil.
Mm.
Uh, don't get me wrong, Igor Thiago, he did well for Brentford.
Mm.
Watching that Brazil versus Morocco game, watching him play was
Mm.
honestly cringeworthy. I have to say
Mm.
it was cringy. He had
Mm.
so many chances and he just missed them, every single one of them. I feel
Mm.
like if Joao Pedro was in that position, he would have actually scored them.
Mm.
Um, Watching him run backwards and forwards, it looked like he was so heavy. Like he
Mm.
just couldn't run to save his life. I'll be honest with you. When he
Mm.
should have been there, he wasn't there. When he had his opportunity, he missed every single one of them.
Mm.
So I feel giving that spot to Neymar and losing João Pedro could seriously affect him in the long game
mm,
because he still hasn't even trained with them and he's still in
Mm.
the squad. He can't
Mm.
train with the ball. His legs are still not ready. He's not match fit. Yes, he was
Mm.
at the match, but he was talking to the celebrities the entire time.
Mm.
He was talking to the rappers and the singers, and okay, that's fine. You can do that as well, but not have to be in the squad. You can
Mm.
be there, support your country. After
Mm.
all, Brazil isn't far from America. You can go watch
Mm.
them.
yeah.
Mm.
But I feel like that's more selfish in a term. That's what I want to say. It's kind of selfish.
Mm.
Neymar in his prime was brilliant. I'm not saying that he was brilliant in Barca when it was Luis Suarez, Messi, and Neymar up front.
Mm.
He was brilliant when he
Mm,
was young,
Mm.
absolutely brilliant. But he is getting now to the point
Mm.
where I think he's coming up to his 30s. Is coming early 30s now, and his legs aren't what they used to be.
No.
So I feel like it was selfish on his part.
Mm.
Yes, everybody wants to play for the World Cup.
Mm.
Everybody wants. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like he should have gave it to João Pedro that place
Mm.
because I feel like he knew himself he wasn't ready, but because the
Mm.
world put that pressure on Ancelotti and obviously
Mm.
what he put out on social media,
Mm.
it kind of influenced him to say, "Oh, yes, give me a spot," you know.
Mm.
And I feel that I feel like that was more selfish on his part, you know.
Mm. Mm. Okay. Yes, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I slightly disagree there, Tony, with what you said about blaming him, because although clearly, like a lot of these big name players like Messi and Ronaldo, they have a hell of a lot of say in what happens. But
Mm.
I mean, ultimately, if Ancelotti fell to that pressure, then it's
Mm.
not really Neymar's fault. I mean, I'm assuming that he's basically almost recovered from an injury. I mean, is that the situation, that he's had an injury? Because he obviously can't train with the ball even. So he's and the point really is, will he ever get to that point where he's match fit enough to actually play? I mean, maybe he'll come on as a substitute somewhere if he can get to the point of fitness. But
Mm.
again, we don't know. A player like that probably has a massive impact on the dressing room in a good way, you hope. Maybe
Mm.
there, you never know, do you? There could be an undercurrent of players you think, actually, why should he be picked in the team? And he's taking the space of someone else who could have made better use of it. So there's
Mm.
always going to be that. But he may just be excellent in the dressing room, and
Mm.
they want him there in the hope that he will become good enough. What I
Mm.
think is evidence the other night watching the game is that this wasn't the Brazil we know from the past. I mean, clearly it
No.
wasn't, and they were not even the bookies' favourite before the tournament. So clearly they're going through some sort of transition. And at the same time, Morocco, yeah, they're a very good side. I think they got to the semis in the Euro. Was it the Euros or the
Quarterfinals,
last World Cup?
quarterfinals,
Mm.
because we played them for obviously third spot
Right.
placement. Yeah.
But they've got these sides like that have
Mm.
really elevated how good they are, and it really comes home. And we've seen one or two other. So, I mean, Germany, I mean, we'll probably come on to this, but they get stonking 7-1. But really, up until half time, Suraseo were excellent. They could have scored and so on. So we'll no doubt look at those. But yeah, this is not the Brazil that we know from the past. And why should it be? Every country goes through having to rebuild and a transition. And in Brazil's case, of course, a lot of their players now actually play over here, certainly in Europe. And of course, Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson and others, we see these players week after week. And it's probably not like the older times where we never really saw the likes of the style of the Brazilian team. They were just out of this world the way they used to play. So yeah, I think it's a sign of they're rebuilding, and other teams like Morocco are really coming up fast on the fences, and yeah, we're seeing more evidence of that, I think.
Yes. Now the next one is no, I do remember that Neymar was in Saudi at some point,
He
and
was
because
where?
of
Sorry,
this,
he was where?
it was in Saudi, one of the Saudi
Right,
Arabian
yeah,
clubs, yeah, and
yeah,
because of this injury, he had to cut that contract short, didn't it? So it's still
yeah.
not
That's right.
fit. It's not
No.
it's not fit at all.
No.
Right. So what about Kylian Mbappe? What do we make of him?
Well, I watched him play last night. Obviously, very quiet first half, which France did have a very quiet first half, didn't they? Um, but second half, he played like he can play. I mean, he got a couple of very good goals, but the whole French team in the first half were not really at the races, were they? They
Oh.
really the opponents. I mean, Sarr should have scored, Palace player, right before half time, of course. What's the name of their team? I can't remember. It's a
Senegal.
French Senegal, of course, yeah. So really, in the first half, Senegal could have had two or three goals, and that really might have upset the apple cart as far as France were concerned, given
Mm,
that they're the favourites, the bookmakers' favourites to win it. But yeah, the second half they kind of came into their own. They played great football, and Mbappe was part of that, wasn't he? He was just
mm,
excellent. That goal
mm.
where he sort of saw the goalkeeper a bit forward, but he kicked it. He took his shot so quick that it wrong-footed the goalie. He didn't have a hope of getting to it, and I
Yeah.
think that was the mark of the man. I mean, he's just a very much a quality player, isn't he?
Mm,
Excellent.
yeah. Tony?
What to say about Kylian Mbappe? Um, yeah, I mean he's very good as for a young player. He started off his career flying. He won the World Cup at what 28, I think it was, something like that. I know he was very young, regardless. And he was very good at PSG, very good. I feel like his career kind of dipped when Real Madrid came calling. Uh, I feel like, in my personal opinion, I feel like it kind of almost destroyed self-destruction, really, because obviously when you play for Real Madrid, you're playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I think the money at the time was ridiculous as well. So I kind of feel like it backfired for himself. I think because of, oh, look, they're paying this amount of money for me. I'm playing for the best club in the world. I'm going to finally win the Champions League. I feel like all that mixed together kind of just imploded on itself. Because, like I said, he was a brilliant player. He was fast. He was scoring goals like it was nothing. It's like, oh, this is like breakfast me, and I'm just warming up here. And as soon as he went to Real Madrid, that more or less stopped. Not in a complete sense, it stopped. He was still scoring goals, but not as much as he was scoring at PSG. And considering that PSG, since he left, have won two Champions League back to back, just shows something
Yeah.
kind of went wrong here for
Yeah.
Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
So from an outsider's perspective, I feel like kind of his all like career has gone downhill now in a sense. But at the end of the day, when you're down, there's only one way to go up, you know?
Mm,
So he can always bring it back and change the mindset because all of a sudden now everybody's calling him on the internet dictator, you know? Because obviously he's controlling everyone, and there's stuff like saying like, oh, if you back to Mbappe, you get benched, and it's kind
mm,
of true in a sense because
yeah,
you can see it. In the next game, they're on the bench because they've talked back to Mbappe now. So it's like I said, I think all this is kind of eating at him in a sense. You know, when you get a bit too big headed and your ego starts to come out a bit,
mm,
it is very self destructive. So I feel like he kind of needs to sit down and just think a bit, you know, because PSG
yeah,
has won back-to-back Champions League as soon as you leave. You know, this wasn't like, oh, you know what, we'll win it with Mbappe. They never won it with Mbappe. They
mm,
didn't win it until that point, until they got rid of Mbappe, and they're like, okay, you know what, he's left. He's going to do great at Real Madrid, and in the end, he didn't really turn out like that.
mm, mm,
So, like, he needs to have a serious think about what's going on, about
mm,
just self analyze and
mm,
you know figure out a bit what he needs to do because like he is captain of France now. Or like we said, he wasn't really it wasn't the best first half. It picked up in the second half for them yesterday, but
mm,
um, they need to have a little bit of a think here what's going on, you
mm,
know.
mm. But of course, he did equal or even break the record of, or is it equal to the record of Olivier Giroud for
yeah.
France, didn't it?
He
Yeah,
equaled it. Yeah, yeah.
equaled it. Yeah, so he's looking to break it. Two goals now, and he'll break it. Probably be
Mm,
No
the
doubt he'll do it.
highest
You know, he's
scoring.
still
Yeah,
got. This is only the first game. We've got so many games to go. Obviously, he's gonna break it
yeah.
at some point. You know.
yeah, yeah. Now, what do we make of the stadiums in America? What do we make of the stadiums?
Well, obviously they seem to be excellent. Quite a few of them have got the roofs closed, and this, of
Mm,
course, does bring up something which I said the other night before I'd heard it anywhere else. I said
mm,
I don't understand why they have to have the break for drinks. You know, the that break halfway through the first half, halfway through the second half,
mm,
um, because the stadiums are very much air conditioned when
mm.
the roofs are closed. A bit like Wimbledon, when they close their roof, it gets quite cold in there because of the air conditioning. And of
Yeah.
course, what then comes to mind is that FIFA have insisted on these, even where the roofs do close,
Mm,
and it's presumably
mm,
because of all the advertising that goes on in that time. So again, money is at the root of these things, I think, and I actually think it's a shame because in one of the games the other day, it may have been the Curacao game, I can't quite remember, but they were going great guns. I mean, they lost 7-1, but they were going great guns. Possibly had scored their goal, lots and lots of momentum, and then the ref blows for the hydration break. Now that's not right. And even in the game last night with France and Senegal, Senegal were quite, they were very good at times in that match. They could have done much better than they did, but again, their momentum seemed to have been stopped by the hydration break. And someone
mm,
else said, well, why not, when they do it, at least stop the clock rather than just adding on 3 minutes to the extra time added on. I mean, I know that's a bit of a minor point, but yeah,
mm,
I think we have to be aware that FIFA, for all the good that I'm sure they do, they're putting on this festival of sport. We could have a lot of criticism about some of the ticket prices. It's utterly obscene, and of course,
mm,
spread across 3 countries, in my view, is a bit crazy as well because it's not fair on the travelling fans to a large degree. So it's not
mm,
perfect. I mean, it's great to come back to the question. The stadiums, typical of America, are generally very good. The pitches look nice, they're well lined and all the rest of it. But this question of the hydration break, I think,
mm.
is a bit of a nonsense when the roof is closed. So I don't know whether you'd agree with that. I mean, there's another thing on the point of FIFA, which you may be discussing in a minute, but with last night's game when Argentina beat Algeria,
Mm.
I think it's an open secret that Messi absolutely should have been sent off before he got his hat trick in the second half. But he wasn't. I mean, the studs all the way down the back. He wasn't. And no one's going to tell me that the organisation, the FIFA, and by definition, the extension, the refs, they're never
Mm.
going to send Messi off or Ronaldo, but particularly Messi, because they know people will pay huge amounts to see him. If he was sent off last night, I guess I don't know how many matches he'd be banned for violent conduct. It should be 3, let's face it. So it could rule him out of the rest of the group phase, but they won't do that. And that to me is shocking because he went on to win the game with 3 goals. So again, we have to sort of not to find things to complain about. It's a great festival of football, and to have football on 2, 3 times a night. And if you want to stay up late in the morning, which unless it's England, I won't, but you can do that. So it's a great festival and really good to be, to see this every 4 years. But
Mm.
when you see this cynicism, how that ref could possibly justify not even booking him, Messi, that is, I will never know. So yeah, there are faults with this,
Mm.
but it's still the World Cup, and maybe I think too much against what FIFA is doing, but they're my views on this, certainly.
Mm. Tony, please.
Yeah, I was surprised when they came to the stadiums in America. I didn't realize how beautiful, in a sense, they are, you know. I had no idea. I thought they're gonna be like, oh yeah, they're gonna. Well, I didn't see them put the artificial grass because they're more or less temporary. Just they're only there for the World Cup, and then after that they use it for whatever. But I'm honestly, I was so surprised of how nice they all are, you know.
Yeah,
And I can't remember which. It's like a Mercedes sponsored stadium where the roofs like open up like a triangle, and I was like, wow, that's like I'll be honest, that is probably the better stadium than more or less what we have in Europe. I'll be honest, the stadiums are absolutely beautiful,
Mm.
especially that one where it was. I think was it the US or Canada? I think it was the US one where they had like the big TVs in the center of like it's
Mm.
like they've got the big outer
mm,
walls and then they've got like
Mm.
the middle where all the TVs are and like it's
yeah,
like TV on both
yeah,
sides. I thought that was absolutely like wow, you know. And yet, wasn't that? That's not even the biggest stadium that they have. The biggest one is in is it New York? So where the
Mm.
finals being played. So you just looking at some of the
yeah,
stadiums and how high they are, you're like, imagine sitting there. My fear of heights would go insane.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've been to wasn't that Leeds Arena, and I've sat at the top, and I'm like, I can't look down. I can't look down. I can't look down. You know. So imagine being in those American stadiums, and it's just massive, and you're looking down. You're like,
yeah.
this is insane. It is
Mm.
absolutely beautiful stadiums, honestly. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, even the attendance was quite impressive because I watched the FIFA World Cup or whatever FIFA Club World Cup. That's what they call it, isn't it? FIFA Club World Cup, and it was very scanty. The attendance was very scanty. But I looked at this one and I thought, wow, even at the games where you think but it was still quite impressive turnout.
Yeah.
About 80,000. It's not bad, is it? Now, what about what do we make of? But first of all, let me just read this quote from Virgil van Dijk, the Liverpool player, plays for Netherlands. He says, "I feel that FIFA are slowly turning football into a four-quarter sport just to push more advertisements, despite the detriment of the game." So, Tony, I believe Brov's talked about it. How do you feel about the breaks?
I feel the same way. I
Mm.
think one of the like American commentators said this is the end of the first quarter, and like this is not football. We do not
Yeah,
have
yeah,
quarters. This is 45 minutes, maybe 2, 3 extra time
yeah,
break. second half. There is no quarters in this game. And one of the pundits, I can't remember who it was for the Norway versus Iraq game,
Mm,
uh, he said that if it is a proper hydration break, they
mm,
shouldn't be able to talk to the coaches at all. I feel
right.
he feels like the player should be on one side, the coaches stay on the other side, they get their
Mm,
drinks or whatever,
Yeah.
and that's how it is. Because who was it now? He said like I kind of feel like what I understood what he meant by because when Iraq got that goal back against Norway, they were
mm,
pushing and pushing and pushing and put heavy pressure on Norway. And then
mm,
all of a sudden the hydration break comes on, and then all of a sudden Norway is beating them again.
Mm.
mm,
So it it does have an effect, these hydration breaks,
mm,
for let's say a team that's dominating, and then all of a sudden you have a little bit of a break, you broke
mm,
down the gameplay, and now all of a
mm,
sudden that team is dominating who was
mm.
losing. So sometimes
Mm.
if you're in that position where it's, you're in the bad half of
Yeah.
it, you do better in the second half of it. But I kind of feel like these hydration breaks are absolutely useless in a sense
Mm,
Mm.
because, like Trevor said, when the roofs are closed of these stadiums, you've got AC
mm,
constantly blowing through.
mm,
So yes, it will be hot, but it's not as hot as, let's say, the roofs were open and heat is
No.
actually coming inside.
mm, mm,
So I feel like these hide and break, like, it's all just advertising. It's not
mm,
really to, oh, you know what, we care about the players. Let's give them a little bit of a break here. It's
mm,
not. It's just to get some money out of it.
mm,
But
mm,
also, just as if I can just say that momentum, as we say, that's an interesting word in football, but it's like in any sport. Momentum is such a key thing, and it
mm,
doesn't just happen like that. You build it, you build momentum like a jet engine when it's going off down the runway. It builds. So what's
mm,
happening with these breaks? And it almost happens exactly on the quarter way through of the match or halfway through that half time, the first half, that one team, often the disadvantaged team, the lesser team, has
mm,
managed to build up a momentum, and then it's suddenly crushed by that stop, and that's seriously affecting the game itself, and possibly the result, for all we know. We'll never know, I guess. But I just think they really should be tailoring this to only where it is really hot and they need a hydration break. Because, yeah, the other side of it is if they're playing in degrees 30 to 35 degrees of football, that's very hot to play. Your body will need replenishment. So I can understand that in that situation, or if they were playing in Qatar like they did last time, and
mm,
although that was in December and it was still hot. But here, where they are now, I don't think it can be justified to do it on every single game. But it's
mm,
not going to change because of anything we or anybody else says, I guess. And another little interesting aside, I think, I mean, America, as you say, they have great pitches, great stadiums, and they have such a fantastic array of sports. We can think of them: basketball, NFL, baseball, all these great games that they have, ice hockey, and so on. And actually, whether we like it or not, football or soccer, as they call it, is a relatively minor relative of those games in America. And I don't know what the exact percentage is, but we're told that something like 70 to 80% of Americans don't even know the World Cup is being played, because important as it is to Europe and South America and so on, it's not one of
mm,
the main games in North America. Yes, our players have gone over there, particularly Beckham early on, and
mm,
really introduced the game and made it quite big relatively. But most Americans don't even know it's going on, which is not a criticism, but it's testimony to the fact they have fantastic stadiums usually for other sports. So yeah, it's a bit of a side thought, but yeah, to us it's all important. Maybe to them it isn't, but it still doesn't justify these enormous ticket prices, which again is something else, I guess.
No, it doesn't, does it? Yeah, I quite see what you're coming from with that. Now, Messi, what do we make of Messi as a player? I mean, he's scored hat trick. So regardless of whether, he should have been sent off, but he's slowly, if not veering towards becoming the player with the most goals in the World Cup, or the highest goal scorer in the history of World Cup. That's a remarkable achievement, isn't it?
I mean, he's more or less joined now with Klaus, hasn't he? With his 16
Mm,
goals now.
mm,
Uh, as a player,
yeah.
he can be a great tactician. You know, he's great assist. He's got more assists than he does goals. Or is it the other way around now? Anyways, uh, he is a good player in that sense, but I feel that he's lazy in a sense.
Mm,
He doesn't make a run. He just walks. You'll see him like, oh, he'll scan around,
mm,
he'll walk, and that's about it, really. He'll be like, "Oh, okay, you know what? The ball's gone back now. I'll leave that to the defense.
mm,
I'm a winger, you know. I don't need to go to defense," which is
mm,
not true because at the end of the day, you're all one team. You all, if you're pushing up, you push up with them. Even the defense, they all push up.
mm,
So, uh, yeah, it's very lazy in my sense, you know. If your
mm,
needs more defense back, you push back as well. Even the forwards, they go back as well. It's
mm,
also why we criticized Rashford as well. We criticized him
mm,
a lot because he was doing the exact same things what Messi was doing, walking on the
mm,
pitch, and then when we actually needed reinforcement at the back, he was up there. You know, it's like,
mm,
oh, don't worry, guys, I'm waiting for the ball over here. Pass it to me. Like, no, come back here. We need you. You know.
mm, mm,
So like I said, I feel like he's a lazy player in a sense. You know, he doesn't
mm,
make the runs when he should do. You know,
mm,
or make a defensive impact in a sense. You know, yes, he's a
mm,
small guy, but that doesn't mean anything. We've seen small players make very big impact in games. More or less,
mm,
the whole Japanese squad. I think the minimum like height there is like 5'6" or 7". They're not tall players, but they're all very good players. You know, and they all do their part.
mm,
So you can blame whatever you want, but at the end of the day, I just feel like he's a lazy player. You know.
mm. Okay. Bruv?
Yeah, I smiled when Tony said lazy player because I've always thought, I truly have always thought, Messi is a lazy player. But there's a big but there that he's kind of big. No one's bigger than the sport, of course, but he kind of is. And I said earlier about he should have been sent off. And for my part, I'm glad he wasn't, although perhaps he should have been. But yeah, I've always, whenever I've watched him, thought he's lazy. He walks a lot. He does walk, but then when he does get the ball, he can do things with a football that mere mortal footballers can never do. I can
Mm,
think of a few examples where he's managed to sort of dribble around somebody right by the goal line, not the goal line itself, but you know, where near the corner flag, and he somehow magically walks in with it, beats about three players, and scores.
mm,
I don't. You'd be a brave manager, whether club or country, to say to Lionel Messi, "Come on, old fella, you've got to start tracking back," because he won't do it. And he must know, of all players, he's got that license to
mm,
be Lionel Messi. And you could also argue that we've got very used over the last few years in the Premier League to doing what Tony said, and that is all tracking back, all tracking forward, and it makes for maybe end-to-end stuff. So it's not always a bad thing. But if you go back perhaps to the earlier days of the Premier League in the 90s and the noughties,
mm,
I think there were players who were still considered individuals. They might have been a flying winger. Not everybody was expected to track back. And if you think about it, maybe it's much as I admire Pep Guardiola, maybe it's since his time that players, even the better strikers, were expected to track back. I mean, we see Erling Haaland often back in the penalty area defending for corners and things like that. And
mm,
maybe we tried to make all players, all things to all men, that they've all got to be an attacker or a striker or whatever, instead
mm,
of actually saying no, that there are positions on a football pitch which in the earlier times, you know, even 20, 25 years ago, they didn't have to be running back all the time, because then
mm,
maybe that's why we have more substitutions, because players get more physically exhausted with what they have to do. But to
mm,
stick with Messi, I actually think he's a joy to watch. I mean, I could
mm,
watch Lionel Messi all day. I mean, he's just incredible. The way that ball sticks to his toe like on a string, and the way
Mm,
he beats players, even at his age now. I mean, he must be, what, 35, 36, I think now.
36.
But again, because he's never been one to put himself about physically, his
mm,
career probably will go on a bit more like Ronaldo, who's now 40, 41.
mm,
Maybe for a similar reason. I mean, I think these days for Portugal, I don't think Ronaldo overdoes it himself either, because again, he's in the privileged position of
mm,
having this incredible talent, which very few are blessed. We know they both, Ronaldo and Messi, between them won so many Ballon d'Ors year after year that says it all. They are a joy to watch, and it will be a great shame, probably the next World Cup, when we don't see either of those players. To me, it was brilliant that they're both still in this World Cup, that the world's football fans can actually watch them play still, because
mm,
they are demigods in football. They're just
mm,
incredible, and I think a bit like other sports, a bit like we probably cherished the top three or four tennis players for 15 or 20 years. A blessing that they were there to entertain us. The same with Messi and Ronaldo. Not many
mm,
others achieve that level of fame and brilliance. I mean, Pele, I guess, years ago did, and
mm.
there's others, Bobby Moore, Bobby Charlton. They don't come along very often, people like
No.
that. So I'm pleased he wasn't sent off, even though he should have been. But I hope
Mm.
we see a lot more of his ability. And yes, as Tony said, he will come across a bit lazy, but if he scores these amazing goals, I, for one, won't criticise him.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this three awards that FIFA has unveiled, well, it's always been there, but they've just redesigned it, I think. And the first one is the Golden Boot, followed by the Golden Ball and the Golden Glove. Now, I know the Golden Glove is for the goalkeeper, and I know the Golden Boot is for the highest goal scorer. Who gets the Golden Ball? I'm confused about that.
Perhaps it's the ref.
Sorry,
I
guys.
don't know. I mean, perhaps the overall man of the match,
I,
player of the match,
that's what I was
maybe.
Uh,
thinking as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they just got a trophy. You know, they get like a trophy. I didn't know they got the ball, the golden ball. Anyway, yeah, that's another one that I didn't expect. Never anticipated. Now, it says in the entirety of the 2022 World Cup, there was only four red cards.
Well,
There's already been three
Three.
in one match at the 2026 tournament. That's another record, isn't it? It's setting another record. Do we remember the three? Tony, you were going at that. I think you remember the three.
Yeah, it was literally the opening match.
it
What
was
was
the
it?
opening game,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Mexico versus
South Africa.
South
South
Africa.
Africa,
That's it.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it was a brilliant match. And
it was.
some of them, like those red cards that I saw, I was like, that's never red in my opinion.
Mm,
Uh, why they did some of those reds, we'll never really understand.
no,
The
no,
person behind VAR tried to explain it, but it didn't really sound convincing at all. Uh,
no.
I feel like this is more of an American VAR. They don't really understand the proper VAR, what it actually is for.
Right,
So
right.
so I kind of feel like they made their own little rules in a sense, like how they have their own American penalties and stuff like this.
All
So
right, okay.
I feel like the rule didn't really make sense at all why he got the
No,
red card. But you know what? It was entertaining at the end of the day. Three red cards already in the first
Yeah.
opener. It was an absolute scene to watch.
yeah, yeah. Three already in one game. Yes, bruv. What do you
Yeah, it
make of?
was a surprise. I watched the game. I'm sure we all did. I don't know. I don't think I thought at the time they were harsh. And I thought the refs, in a way, are stamping down their authority pretty
Mm,
early on, like the guy did in last night's game with the French. I mean, he let so many things go, minor fouls, if there is such a thing. And I actually applaud that because again, it enables teams to get some momentum. But I think the refs probably told, don't Don't let players get away with pushing you around. And when they approach the refs, I've noticed they just put their hand up, don't come any closer because you'll be booked. So
Mm,
I think it's probably sensible to do a tougher approach. I don't sense that they're being overly strict on the 5-second throw-in rule, because they sort of put their hand up once the players gathered the ball. Fair enough, but then they, look at this, and they still don't seem to start the count. I always felt 5 seconds was
mm,
ridiculously short to do the throw-in, but nonetheless. But I've noticed that the substitutions are working. They're coming off the pitch pretty quickly. I think they
mm,
have 10 seconds. But the one I'm very impressed with is players going down. There's not many stops to the game. I mean, Sarr, our man Sarr, he's a great footballer, Ismaili Sarr, but he does, careful
mm.
what I say, he does make a bit of a fuss when he goes down. Sometimes you think he's been poleaxed and he's dead. He lays there and he sort of bangs the floor. And he did this last night. And I was saying, no, he's okay. I think he had his foot trodden on. And I'm not saying that's not painful. But the point is, he seemed a bit miffed when he realised when he was helped off by the two trainers, he had to be off the pitch for a minute. And
Mm.
perhaps he did realise, but that was the cost of him doing that. So, yeah, I think it stops a lot of players going down and seeking help when they shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. He plays for your team.
He
We're all
does, yeah.
listening. If he plays against Manchester United and he does that, Tony be like, yeah, I'm saying it. Get off. This is all
And
we've got time.
if he asks me my name, I'll say I'm Tony the Enforcer, so I won't get the blame.
Oh.
So this is all we've got time for on this segment. Do you want to conclude this segment for us, please, Bob?
Yeah, well, that was our first discussion on football and the World Cup, is this incredible festival we're looking at the moment. So we'll carry on in a few minutes with segment 2. So don't go away. Rejoin us very shortly. I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv. Sorry.
Okay,
Tony.
I'm Hickins, and he calls me Cuz.
And I'm Tony, and they all call me the Enforcer.
Yeah, so join us again in the second segment soon.